Hi, I'm Martin Heap. I own Heap Sausage Shop in Greenwich. I'm going to show you a delicious sausage recipe. I'm going to show you how to make a sausage quiche. Now, quiche being a French dish, and in keeping with the French idea, I'm going to be using a Toulouse sausage, available at most supermarkets. And the amount of sausage meat you put into this is entirely up to you. But what you've got to remember is going to contribute very much to the flavour of the quiche. It's got garlic, it's got red wine, it's got herbs and pork. What I've done is break these into marble-sized pieces, and I've sealed them in my frying pan over on my stove just to firm it up. Once it's into the mould, and as you can see, it's been partially baked. We baked it blind. This is done by lining with a kitchen paper, and then you can use rice, beans, or these ceramic balls. But this keeps the sides of the quiche nice and stiff. So we're going to construct now the custard and the garnish. I'm going to use sweated onion, blanched bacon. Now, what do I mean by blanched bacon? This is bacon or pancetta you can use, cut into small pieces, covered with cold water and rapidly brought to the boil. What this does is to wash the bacon, get rid of any unnecessary salts on the outside, but it gives you a much, much superior flavour in the finished dish. I'm going to make a custard using 4 eggs and an egg yolk, 500 ml of milk, and some double cream just to finish it. 1 egg yolk. The egg yolk enriches this. It's a very, very rich dish altogether. Lightly break the eggs. You don't want to over-whip them. You don't want them to souffle. By over-whisking, you're going to introduce air and give it an unnecessary volume of air inside the custard. I'm adding the milk to the egg and the yolk. I'm not over mixing it. Now, this is blanched bacon. I've already explained that this is not salty because I've washed it by blanching it with cold water and then running it under a cold water tap and draining all the water off. You can either add this as a volume to the custard, but it still lacks certain flavour, so I'm going to give it some sweated onion. Now, this is 1 medium-sized onion, finely chopped and cooked down in butter. They're sweet. If you use raw onion, it'll be totally unsuitable. You need to get the acidity out of the onion to give this the kind of flavour I want. This is up to you entirely, the amount that you use. I'm also going to take some Parmesan cheese and add that into the mixture, not on the top, but into it. And I'm going to add a volume of chopped parsley to give it some colour. I've washed the parsley after chopping it because I don't want it to over-green the custard. I'm going to add some milled pepper. I'm not going to add any salt because I've got the bacon and the Parmesan cheese, which is going to give it all of the necessary salt that I want. Now, because these are largish, I'm going to put these into the bottom of the flan ring. You'll see that they're quite firm, but I've hardly cooked them at all, and I've allowed them to cool because you don't want to be putting a hot, sealed piece of meat with custard. It might start to cook it slightly, and that's not what we want. I don't want too much of this. It's the influence of the Toulouse sausage is strong enough. I'm going to try and separate these out. And this is where the delicate bit starts. We've got to get that into the oven and bake it, I would say, for at least 30 minutes to allow the actual quiche to set. Finally, just to really make it horribly rich, I'm going to put some double cream in. Lift it onto your shelf, and if you can, pull the shelf out. I'm going to just pour this gently all the way round. I'd like this to come right to the top with the garnish. Right to the brim. Now very carefully, I'm going to slide the shelf in. You've already got a little bit of colour on this quiche crust, and what you can do is once it starts to bake and get hot, we don't want the pastry to burn. So I'm going to lay a piece of greaseproof paper over it at that point to stop it singeing the top of the pastry. This has taken about 45 minutes to an hour and it's completely set. The custard is firm, it's not overboiled, and it's going to be smooth when we cut it. That's how to make a sausage quiche.